Sean Diddy Combs has a tight inner circle, including his right-hand woman, Kristina Khorram. So who is she and why is she named in a lawsuit by a former producer for Combs? Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. When Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed that lawsuit against Sean Combs and many others, Kristina Khorram was one of the people named as a defendant in the suit. And I want to be crystal clear. Sean Combs has vehemently denied these allegations. His attorney, Sean Hawley, has been quoted as saying they've tried to present evidence to Lil Rod's attorney to disprove the claims, but they've been rebuffed. So that would make anything Lil Rod claimed about Kristina Khorram untrue as well in Combs's eyes. No attorney is listed for Kristina Khorram on the federal court's website. Khorram's now deleted LinkedIn account has said that she joined Bad Boy Entertainment back in 2013 and became Combs's day-to-day manager, later becoming director for the Officer of the Chairman. And the chairman, of course, is Diddy. She was promoted to Diddy's chief of staff back in 2020, and she's very important to him. Combs has even written about her on social media. Meet Kristina Khorram, chief of staff at Combs Enterprises. Kristina, aka KK, keeps everything in my life and my business running. She's been my right hand for the last 8 years and has consistently proven to execute and get S-word done. Don't know how I'd function without her. In another post, Diddy wrote, "Happy birthday to my ace boon coon, my right hand, my day-to-day manager that keeps my world twirling, and she's always got my back. She makes sure that I smile every day and I don't go into those dark places. Today is your day. It's your mother effing birthday. Go KK, it's your birthday. Love you at Kristina Khorram." Combs clearly values Kristina Khorram's work and his relationship with her. The lawsuit Lil Rod filed makes some disturbing and salacious claims against Khorram, and again, Combs has denied what's in that lawsuit. First, Lil Rod has claimed that Mr. Combs's chief of staff, Kristina Khorram, also known as KK, instructs her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide them to Mr. Combs for his consumption. A footnote in the lawsuit that Lil Rod filed says, defendant Khorram instructed her staff, Brendan Paul, Frankie Santella, and Moy Bond, to spike bottles of champagne with ecstasy. Upon information and belief, this occurred the day of December 31st, 2022, New Year's Eve party. Lil Rod claims he complained to Khorram about sexual advances from Combs, and she responded, "Sean will be Sean," and downplayed Combs groping him as horseplay, stating, "He's just showing that he likes you." Jones also called Khorram the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein, claiming she required employees to walk around with fanny packs of cocaine, GHB, and ecstasy to keep Combs high, and much more. Gene Rossi is a former federal prosecutor. So, Gene, there's this allegation that Kristina Khorram, the chief of staff for Sean Combs, is ordering drugs through this guy, Brendan Paul, the so-called drug mule, and ordering employees to run around with black fanny packs that carry these drugs so that Sean Combs can be high all of the time. That seems like typical Hollywood stuff, possibly. What's the
Yeah.
crime in that potentially as far as the feds are concerned?
Well, in my view, is you have a potential. They did a search warrant. The federal government did a search warrant, Southern District of New York. That is bad in itself because Southern District of New York is one of the top 3 or 4 U.S. attorneys' offices in the country. That is very bad for Mr. Combs and the other defendant and Ms. Khorram. The second thing is the federal charges that they're probably investigating are criminal RICO, money laundering, a Mann Act violation, which involves sex trafficking, um, interstate transport of minors. It could involve a lot of charges. So let me focus on the allegation. It seems, according to the allegation, that Miss Khorram was a purchaser of large amounts of drugs that went to Mr. Combs, but I can't help but believe that these employees were also providing these drugs to the victims, to other customers, not just the employees and Mr. Combs. So it wasn't just drugs, in my view, for Combs alone. It was probably used by the employees and also used by the victims of this crime.
There's a particularly disturbing allegation that Kristina Khorram, according to this lawsuit, was ordering people to spike bottles of champagne for a New Year's Eve party a couple of years back, and ordering them to spike it with certain drugs. And then the claim is that maybe there were minors at this party and things like that. What trouble could she be in regarding that allegation?
Well, it's part of the sex trafficking, and when it involves minors, that takes it up a notch. And it's either a separate federal statute, or it's a sentencing enhancement. But when you're engaging in little illegal conduct, excuse me, if you're engaging in illegal conduct involving a minor, okay, in the context of sex trafficking, I can tell you this from my experience. That is like steroids and rocket fuel for an aggressive prosecutor. And as I said at the beginning, you have the Southern District of New York plus exploitation of minors.
Lil Rod, who sued Sean Combs, many other people, including Kristina Khorram, basically calls her the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs's Jeffrey Epstein. So that's a very serious statement to make, a serious claim to make. Sean Combs denies all of this. What are
Okay.
your thoughts on what kind of trouble she could potentially be in if this is true, if these allegations that they're running this RICO organized crime enterprise? So Sean Combs can bring in people to have sex with and use drugs with and groom for his, sexual fantasies and things like that. What kind of trouble she be in if she's arranging these trysts and then buying drugs to ply people with?
All right. Here is the big problem for Miss Corn by being compared to Ghislaine Maxwell. Number one, you have the same district, the Southern District of New York, investigating Mr. Combs and Mr. Corn too, Miss Corn. So the Southern District of New York already has a template for an indictment. Essentially, all you do is change the name. But I'm sure the same scheme, the same statutes. It's just take this template, this indictment that was used for Miss Maxwell, and probably the same prosecutors are going to take it and insert Mr. Combs and Miss Coram, and it's going to be Jeffrey Epstein too. So those are bad facts and practices that are facing Mr. Combs and Miss Coram. And I got to tell you, I predict it will probably take about 4 to 6 months for the agents to analyze the results of the search warrants in LA and in Florida of Mr. Combs' homes. They'll go through data, documents, and all that. It'll probably take 4 to 6 months. I predict that there will be a federal indictment, if I had to bet money, by the Southern District of New York in probably September or October of this year. And I would be shocked if it doesn't include Mr. Combs and Miss Coram and others on this list. I see I see Cuba Gooding Jr.
Right.
This civil complaint that was amended March 25th, the same day as the search warrant. What that tells me, Angenette, is there may be a little coordination between the federal prosecutors and the plaintiff, Mr. Rodney Jones, Lil Rod.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that myself since we've kind of heard that possibly this investigation, at least the federal investigation, may have been underway before these civil suits started being filed last fall. What are your thoughts on that, Gene?
Okay, I can give you my experience. I investigated a very crooked pain doctor. He issued prescriptions as high as, I'm not making this up, 1,200 oxy pills per day. I was investigating this doctor in Northern Virginia, and a private litigant read about it in the paper and heard about it on the news because it was high profile. They filed a lawsuit based on some of the information that I was gathering, and there was some exchange of witnesses and information that is not improper. Prosecutors can work with private litigants if there's a common, person or defendant. There's nothing wrong with that. You just can't share secret grand jury information with the private lawyer and the litigant.
So you think it's possible?
I think it's extremely, exceedingly possible that there is coordination between the Southern District of New York prosecutors and the civil litigant. And I know it could be a coincidence, but I believe the coincidence don't happen by mistake. That they filed their amended complaint on March 25th, the same day as the executing of the search warrant. That's too much of a coincidence for me.
Well, Sean Combs is denying all of this. He's saying he has evidence through his attorney to refute Little Rod's allegations. That means that, you know, Kristina Khorram is basically denying it as well, but she doesn't have an attorney listed. So we just wanted to note that no charges have been filed,
Yeah.
but wanted to look a little closer at Kristina Khorram and who she is and what she's accused of doing in this lawsuit. Gene Rossi, thanks so much again for coming on. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you back here next time.